Welcome into MTP on the 617 presented by Crowworthy. I'm Joe Malkin. I'm here with the real BK Bob Kelly, Rayshon Buchanan, and our executive producer, Craig D'Alessandro, who is looking great with his slicked back hair tonight. Nice little sunburn going on. It's that Italian olive Mediterranean skin. We're here to talk to you about make you sick.
In case everyone was wondering how Craig was looking tonight.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't always join the shows. He's sometimes just there. But tonight he gets to join the show because we're talking baseball. We're talking baseball. It was the MLB Trade Deadline on Tuesday, August 2nd. And guys, the best day of the year in sports, possibly. A lot of moves. The Red Sox made a handful of moves. They dealt guys we thought they were going to move, and they held on to guys that we also thought were going to move. So let's get into it and start with the first one, and that's catcher Christian Vasquez, who was traded to the Houston Astros pregame before the Red Sox Astros game on August 1st, and he found out coming off the field. And the reporters got with him, and the PR team had to grab him and take him down, clean out his locker so he could walk across the stadium to the Houston locker room and start his tenure with the Houston Astros. Guys, I know we have some strong feelings on this one, so let's air those feelings out about Christian Vasquez being traded pregame last night.
Can I go first?
Sure.
All right. So I don't have a problem with the deal. Listen, Christian Vasquez isn't fucking Pudge Rodriguez. Okay. He's not out here winning MVPs. I completely understand why he was traded. He's a free agent. He's a catcher that you got back a good return for. You know what I mean? Like, Christian Vasquez isn't an all-star. He's not someone that is going to win you a pennant. And you had to make the deal because you were going to lose him for nothing at the end of the year. I know there's a lot to that statement because they might lose a lot of guys for nothing at the end of the year. But for you to get back this return for Vasquez is awesome. The way it went down, to me, is inexcusable. You know, I get that it's hard to control the narrative and control the media and all this stuff. But this dude has been a loyal Boston Red Sox since 2008. He's been on they went two since 2008. Yeah, 2 world championship teams, and was a starting catcher and backbone of your rotation for that year. You know what I mean? Without Vasquez, you don't win in 2018. But for him to find out in that way with everything that he's done for you is just inexcusable to me. If the Red Sox didn't do what they did today, it would have gone down as one of the biggest gaffes. It still might biggest gaffes in Boston history, because I just thought the way that he found out, the way that everything went down, it almost brings a tear to your eye. And
Can
it's
I
just
interlude
it's
a question
a shame,
in
man.
here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you. So what?
I know. I get it. I know. It's
No,
it's the emotion behind it,
why-
and I understand that, but that's why when you look at, even the tweet that just almost went viral for us, it's an emotion tied behind these guys because he was the longest tenured Red Sox. You know what I mean? I know it's a so what, but when you look at what this shows to the rest of baseball, how we treat our guys, like, we already have a bad reputation as it goes throughout baseball.
We're just
For
not
guys
supposed to trade a guy though because
you got to do it right, man. I mean, you look at even a guy like Juan Soto, you didn't see him find out that way. It was something where
hang on, Washington didn't treat
you were
him well
trade
the last
him.
2 weeks
Listen,
he was there.
It was, you knew Vasquez was gone. They knew that they were going to trade him, and Houston was one of the biggest players in that market. You go into Houston and you let this dude go through batting practice, listen, do the guy a lot of respect and let him know you're fucking trading him in 25 minutes. You know what I mean?
Maybe he knew he was going, but he didn't know where or what time. I mean, that's the stuff we've talked about before that we don't hear and see, is that, maybe he knew he was on his way out. So let's play this game, because I think it's worth playing, because everybody so far on Twitter, and it's why that tweet went viral, right? At MTP_pod. It went viral because there was that emotion tied to it, because it was a vulnerable moment for him right after batting practice. He was coming off the field, and that's where he finds out. But these guys know that there's something going on there. You know what I mean? Like, these guys they knew that the teams were out looking for deals. Vasquez, Martinez, Evaldi, these other guys, Jake Diekman may or may not have known that he was on his way out. You know, that may be a guy that didn't, but these higher profile guys like the Christian Vasquez of the world, they have some inkling, and the timing of it sucks without a doubt. Had they not done it at that point and waited, I mean, Kevin Youkilis was traded mid-game. It wasn't even before the game. It was in the middle of the game, and the trade was announced, and then he got his last at bat so that he could go out in a Red Sox uniform. So from that standpoint, I guess I agree. That what was it gonna do to wait 3 hours till the end of the game, Bobby? But yeah, I can't fully agree with it, because I mean, it's emotional. It is. But at the end of the day, I don't think either one of us are wrong, and I don't think either one of us are right. I felt an emotion. It sucks. You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't want to take
trade,
your.
though. If we're taking the emotion out of it, though, at the end of the day, it was. Ray, I'm sure you feel the same too. It was a great trade. You know what I mean? You got, like I said, Vasquez doesn't set the world on fire, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can replace what he brought with the bat, or to the naked eye, pretty easily. So I get why they made the deal. I just think it's harder to replace that, and harder to replace what he meant to the team and how they treated him. Like, the reputation is out there for the Red Sox that be pieces of shit, to put it frankly. You know what I mean? They don't care about you, and they don't care about who they're trading and why they're trading them. Like, they traded Mookie Betts with no remorse. They can trade anyone with no remorse. And I just think that this went to further prove that. And I just don't think it's a good look. But, like, does it matter? I don't know. Probably not, but it's not a good outward eye. You know what I mean? From the outside looking in, it doesn't look great that's how you treat your longest tenured player.
Yeah, but sure it matters, though. It's about doing business going forward. So if you're getting guys that come through free agency, if there's guys that come through via trade, and maybe, obviously all players talk, right? So if you're cool with Vasquez, if you're cool with JD Martinez, if you're cool with the Mookies, the David Prices, anybody else that has been here recently and has since moved on, it's a problem. And once again, dog, come into batting practice, come and get your Gatorade, talk to the pitcher, see what the game plan, see what it is, and they say, hey, by the way, big dog, you going across the diamond. Like, I would have been sick. And once again, you seen it in his face.
He was.
At the end of the day, he's human. I mean, sometimes we treat this, and I'm not saying this to you, Joe, but we treat these players like they're not human. And it's like, at the end of the day, they put on their pants the same way that we do. So yeah, it sucked to see him go. I disagree, Bobby, with the, he's not sending. Yes, I get it. He's not sending the world on fire. I feel you. He's clearly our best catcher since Jason Varitek. But it wasn't Salamakia, wasn't David Ross. I'm trying to think of anybody else. I can't think off the top of my head, but those are two guys that come to mind. He was better than those guys, in my opinion. So to me, yeah, you get attached to that. And I think Chaim Bloom made this statement today, I think, on his presser. I think Pete Abraham has shared it via Twitter, mentioned, Hurst Vasquez, how about he FaceTimed him? You FaceTimed him? Like, bro, make the trip down to Texas. Once again, not a super long flight. Come down and say, look, this is what we're looking at. We're looking to get you in Houston. And who knows, maybe that was an ode, even though he was emotional, maybe that was an ode to him saying, you know what, you're our longest tenured here. You helped us win a World Series. You were great with the pitching staff, great with the clubhouse. Let's put you in a position where you have a chance to not only make the postseason, but potentially get you another ring, being with the Astros organization. So maybe that was a
conversation didn't happen, though. See, this is the other part.
No, I will say, but that emotion on his face lets me know it may not have happened right the way that we think it meant to happen. Or the way you maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe he didn't think he was going to go on Monday. Maybe he had the conversation already, and maybe he thought he was going to go on Tuesday. But my only rebuttal to that part of why didn't you fly down to Houston? Well, I mean, let's put it this way: the trade deadline day in the MLB is almost like draft day in the NFL. You can't leave the war room just to go say bye to one player. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like Bill Belichick's walking into somebody's house and saying, "Hey, by the way, we traded you for Seattle's 3rd round pick." Like,
it's different though. It's different.
I think I agree with you that it's different, but Chaim Bloom can't just make that trip when he's trying to do other deals for other players at the same time. I mean, it's really interesting to me because we saw these deals that were done. How many deals do you think were like that close, like so close, and didn't happen? Like those, I mean, that's the thing with that Vasquez deal to me is that, and I don't want anybody to think I'm discounting who Christian Vasquez was as a player, what he meant to this team. You both hit the nail right on the head. You're absolutely right. Longest tenured guy here. Bobby, I agree with you. I share Ray's sentiment that no, he may not have lit the world on fire, but man, he was a leader. Those guys loved him. And he was the best catcher since Veritek because he did know his guys. He had that rapport. He had been here long enough. And he was kind of a Yogi Berra type, right? Like great defensively, knew his guys, just couldn't hit very well. And that's fine.
That's excessive.
But you like that? You like
Yogi Berra?
Yogi Berra,
yeah. And it wasn't Yogi Berra. It was getting late kind of early.
Yeah, right. It's getting kind of
yeah. So, but I don't know, man.
So I agree. Just to finish that piece is, I agree it's different, and I don't want to discount who he is as a human or a ball player, but when the deal's there and the deal's what you want, you make the deal. I think.
Agreed.
I think I agree with you guys on the part that it was bad timing, not that it was too late, is that it was too early. I think they could have just waited until after the game. Those two guys, the Emmanuel Valdez and Wilyer Abreu that they traded for,
would have been there.
Weren't going to play in that game for the Red Sox.
Right.
And Christian Vasquez wasn't going to play in that game for Houston. Now, Craig did make a point that they had brought up a catcher from AAA yesterday on August 1st for the taxi squad prior to that. Christian Vasquez knew he was going. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you guys that the timing was bad. They could have waited until after the game.
And I just think it was funny that it was a Red Sox PR member that pulled him away from the interview. It was like, bro, the damage is already done. All right. Let him. What made it look is like you have someone working in PR, but then you make it so evident and so noticeable that you just fucked up. And it's like as you can't pull him in the middle of a goddamn sentence and have it's just the appearance of it. It wasn't as big of a fuck up internally. Maybe not. Like maybe it's not. But from the outside looking in, it just looks like an organization that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. You know what I mean? That's just what it or not even doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, but is just so discombobulated. I guess that's the same goddamn thing. I just did a Joe in my own head. Yeah. But it was baffling to me to see. Craig, I mean, I guess they made up for it because listen, I heard people calling the Red Sox winners of this trade deadline. So like,
let's get to that, but let's hear Craig's thoughts on the Christian Vasquez trade. Because Craig always gives us an interesting view, and Craig was the one that tweeted the tweet that it now has close to 4,000 views on likes on @MTP_pod. Sorry, Craig, got to keep plugging it. What are your thoughts on the Vasquez trade?
Not surprised at the move. Not surprised. Obviously, I think they could have handled it better. Is it the end of the world? No. Do I feel like I know where this team is going right now? Also, no.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with this team because they are in the unfortunate position of going into this trade deadline basically at 500, and that's the worst place you can be at the trade deadline because you can make the argument either way. We're gonna make the playoffs, and we're not gonna make it this year. Let's trade off some pieces and see what we can get for them. They were right in the middle of that, and if there were 5 more places, but also the fact we're only a couple of games out of the wild card certainly helps with that. I just don't know what to do, and I don't know what Chaim Bloom. I don't think Chaim Bloom is built for this town. I really don't.
You don't say.
So
because sorry to interrupt you, but I just look at every trade or every major transaction that Chaim Bloom has made for this team. None of them works. None of them. You trade a generational talent in Mookie Betts, and you get to the time, we're getting Verdugo, we're getting Jeter Downs. These guys are going to make it. Meanwhile, Mookie Betts is still hitting, 25 home runs over in the Dodgers, winning another World Series.
Yep.
And meanwhile...
World Series MVP, wasn't it?
I think so, probably. Meanwhile, Mookie Betts, this season, has more home runs combined than every single Red Sox outfielder. Their outfield...
Well, not hard to do when Jackie Bradley's in your outfield.
Exactly. So I don't know.
And Jarren Duran.
And just every trade he's ever made has not worked for positive. He's...
Oh, wait, you mean the Jackie Bradley, the guy they traded for Hunter Renfroe, who has 33 home runs also?
I just don't know what the direction is. I understand the moves. Moving Christian Vasquez to me was an easy move because, let's face it, it's a catcher position you can find. I understand catchers have different pitchers have catchers that they like to throw to. Whatever.
That's why Doug Mirabelli had a police escort.
Yeah, I still remember that. That was fun.
It's the best. It was the best.
I just feel like this team does not have the potential to have a long postseason ride. So I say you got a lot of expiring contracts. Vasquez, Evaldi, Michael Wacha, Rich Hill, Nathan Evaldi. I probably said him already. A ton of guys. Bogarts. Maybe Devers in a couple of years. You're going to let them walk away for what? A commensurate third-round pick, maybe first-round pick in the draft a couple of years from now, and then maybe in 2027 they're up here in the majors? I don't know what we're doing. Are we really going to let them walk away for nothing?
So to elaborate on your point about Chaim Bloom and the direction of the Boston Red Sox, Xander Bogaerts was asked that question, and I have not been able, I didn't find it, but he was asked that question, what he thought about the direction of the team. And he gave a not so positive answer. And I'll have to find that so Craig can,
I'm looking for it.
Source me. But if your cornerstone player, because he could be the cornerstone player, arguably it could be Devers, is saying that, you're in trouble. From a lot of perspectives when your players don't really understand. And I always have to go on this rant, and I think this is a good time to do it based on what Craig just brought up with Chaim Bloom, the direction of this organization. Bobby said it, where it looks like they have pie on their face with some of these moves that they've made and how they've executed them. This is a wet dream that John Henry has been chasing since 2002 and possibly before that. And the reason I say that is because I did, in fact, watch Moneyball the other day. Great movie. Billy Beane was offered $12.5 million in 2002 to become the general manager of the Boston Red Sox. Thank goodness it didn't work out, and then Theo Epstein came through. Because what John Henry wants to do is what Chaim Bloom is doing right now, and he will sell this to us any way he can, because he continues to try to sell water to fish. He continues to try to sell bullshit to bulls. He continues to do it on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis with this organization. He's been a part of other organizations where that has worked. The small ball, money ball type contracts work in cities like Tampa and Oakland. One of the most famous lines in Moneyball is when he's talking to the character who plays John Henry, who did a very good job playing John Henry, was saying that the New York Yankees paid $1.2 million per win in the 2002 season. $1.4 million in the 2002 season. The Oakland Athletics paid $270,000 per win in that season. This is what John Henry wants. He wants to spend less money while charging more money to make more money. Sure, it's a business, right? Christian Vasquez said it when he was traded. It's a business. Probably right before he FaceTimed Chaim Bloom. This is the problem with the organization, is that there is a guy like Chaim Bloom in here. And Ray, it made me think the other day of you when I sent you the message, you guys the message about what I was doing in MLB The Show with the Oakland Athletics. Also not a sponsor, but if MLB The Show wants to sponsor our baseball episode. But anyway, that's besides the point. I was thinking about it, and I think at this point in time, I like Dave Dombrowski more than Chaim Bloom. Do I like what Chaim Bloom wants to do in principle? Absolutely. And now that I've given you another monologue, let's talk more about this organization and the direction of this organization before we get to the other trades. Because, guys, we just saw the Yankees, the Padres, the Nationals were sellers, but the Blue Jays
Isn't that crazy?
make moves. I know.
Isn't that great? Quick sidebar. I know we're 617. What were they 5 years ago? You had who was it?
Bryce
Max
Harper,
Scherzer, Bryce
Steven
Harper,
Yeah.
Juan Soto on
Trey
this team,
Turner.
and now 5 years later, Thanos, boom, gone. That's
It's
crazy.
not even half. It's not even half. It's all
Well,
of
yeah,
it.
at
half.
least
All of half, yeah.
at least they found a way to get one for them down there in 2019, and
Yep.
they beat Houston to get it done. So
I forgot they won the
but
World
yeah.
Series that year. That's crazy.
yeah, it was wild.
Sneaky, one of the worst owners in baseball. The
Mhm.
the
Without a
Washington
doubt.
Nationals.
Without a doubt.
But guys, I mean, I look at the moves that were made around the league, and Bobby, you said you heard the Red Sox were winners. When Craig and I talked about another trade that we'll get to here in a minute, the trade for Eric Hosmer this afternoon, I was kind of on the winner side, and then my drive home from work, I had some time to think about it. I don't think they're winners in this for a number of reasons, and I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that. Winners or losers for the Boston Red Sox?
For overall for the deadline?
Overall for the deadline.
I'd say, I mean, the what they brought in, they didn't give up much to give up. They didn't give up much to get. I'm with you though that I'm just confused at this point. I don't know what direction they're heading, because it seems like they traded off a vital piece that could have really helped you get to an ALCS or a World Series, but then you also are bringing in guys who are real talented. You don't trade away any of your other expiring contracts. So it's just like, well, what's the direction? Where are we going here? But I think overall it's a win. Taking the emotion out of it, it's a win because you got talent and you didn't give up much. I mean, really the biggest name we gave up is Vasquez and Groom. And we brought back Pham, we brought back Hosmer, we brought back, a couple high-level prospects along with Hosmer. So it just, you know what I mean? It from a PR perspective, from an outside looking in perspective, it doesn't look great for, how we're operating. But from a talent perspective, you can't actually sit here and tell me that the team didn't get better, and you can't tell me that we didn't bring in more than we gave up. So you know what I mean? It's hard for me to really grade a win or a loss, because like emotionally, huge loss. Baseball wise, kind of a win.
I feel like
winners or losers?
Losers. I'm combining the two words together. They won and they lost. Now, I think they lost from a public relations standpoint. I think we all have talked about
Did you say
that.
woozers? Is that what you said?
Woozers. Yeah, that's
Woozers?
yeah, woozers.
I was like, wait, did I
new word, baby. Woozers. That's right. So, yeah, that we all talked about. We all agreed that was awful. Now, yes, when you've been throwing out Frenchie Cordero, Bobby Dalbec, just whoever, you're throwing out me out there at first base, it's terrible. Like, it's awful. Like, you are not going to do very well when you have guys like that playing every day. Like, it's pathetic. So, yes, I think Pham has like 11 home runs. I know, we didn't talk about Rich McGuire, I guess, is also good defensively. He's also 4 or 5 years younger, than Vasquez, another left-handed bat in the lineup eventually. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, they slightly got better. Now, the thing I'll say, and, because we talked about this when the Celtics were having their struggle too, and obviously they go get Derek White and they did it just in subtraction, so to speak. That's what this better become. Like, and, we saw it last year, when Schwarber got here too, when they started to take off when Schwarber, well, not right away. I remember, he was hurt and then he ended up playing. But to me, this would have better be like Hosmer is a 4-time Gold Glove winner. I know he was a 2016 All-Star, World Series champ in 2015. This better be a Derek White type move where they take off from here. Like that just better be the case, because if not, it really was all for nothing. And they do what they do to appease the fan base. Am I ecstatic through the roof that this has gone on? No, I want to see what it's going to turn into. But getting Hosmer, a guy that was all-star. I think they're 4 or 5 years too late to get him. I know they were looking to get him in 2017, 2018, but I know he ended up signing that 9-year deal with San Diego. So, but yeah, it's a steal when you can get them to pay everything for you, the whole damn contract that's remaining. They're going to give you the money. That's beautiful.
When they knew how much money they were bringing in with all their other trades, which is amazing.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
So I and you kind of touched on all the other trades, and I have a question for Craig about Bloom letting some of these guys go at the end of their contracts, and I'll get to that in a minute. I mostly just said that so that you will remind me, Craig. With the moves that they've made, assumingly they didn't get rid of any of their starting pitching, which is fine. They didn't really bring in any relievers. They activated Rich Hill from the 15-day DL, so he's back to pitch. Their infield is going to be Plawecki and McGuire behind the plate, Hosmer at first, when and if he gets healthy, Story at second, Bogarts at short, and Devers at third. You'll have Verdugo in left, Duran in center, and Jackie Bradley in right.
Actually,
I think Pham takes. I think
Pham.
I'm sorry.
Pham and left.
Pham takes his spot.
Goes to left or go.
Pham will play left, and they're trying to work Verdugo in the center field and Jackie Bradley in right.
Good, because I will say to you, Craig, Chaim Bloom, though he did lose the Mookie Betts trade because Mookie Betts is good, Alex Verdugo is a positive for this team. Good personality. You know, they kind of painted him in a negative light, and people are now doing that with Reese McGuire and Tommy Pham. But, you know, then Verdugo got here, and I don't think there's anybody in Boston that dislikes Alex Verdugo.
He also wants to be here.
And he wants to be here. And if you do dislike him, let me know. And I think that may have been a dig at Mookie Betts, Ray, that he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, it was.
But so that's what the 9 is going to look like. I think they're going to have to platoon McGuire and Plawecki because I don't think they're everyday guys. But Craig, my question for you, with all these, you know, the direction of the club, with all of these contracts expiring, and you mentioned it, what are you going to get? A third round compensatory pick? This seems to be a Bloom move. He built Tampa through the draft as well.
Mm-hmm.
So is this what he's trying to do, to bring in these piece by piece, you know, Bill Belichickian style thing? Because if you really think about it, Bill Belichick plays a lot of money ball down in Foxborough. Didn't want to pay Tom Brady either. So you think we're moving in that direction as an organization? So if there was a direction, is this the direction we're moving, where we are going to just start seeing more and more draft picks, and then when those draft picks come through, we're just going to sell them on?
I think this is the direction that Major League Baseball is moving in, because if you look at the Yankees, they're kind of doing this too. Yeah, we all get, you know, lost in the fog of Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, or whatever hell he calls himself now.
It's been Giancarlo for a while now, Craig.
He used to be Mike, right?
Yeah.
This is a lot of the teams, for whatever reason, don't feel like they want to spend money anymore, and they want to do, you know, get valuable players through the draft and bring them up that way. I'm not sure when that transaction happened, when we transitioned into that in Major League Baseball, when most teams around $200 million, $150 million in payroll. This is Chaim. If this is Chaim Bloom's show, they're gonna do it relatively the way they did it in Tampa Bay. I think obviously the Red Sox payroll, you have some flexibility on that one. But they're going. This is why I've told you they're letting Bogarts go. They're waiting for 2 years. They're gonna move Story or Jeter Downs over the shortstop for 2 years and wait for Marcelo Mayer to come up. And, you know, hopefully they realize what they have in Devers and they end up signing him. But I can't guarantee that. But this is clearly the way they're moving. If they wanted to give Xander Bogaerts that higher AAV contract, they would have done that in spring training. If they wanted to, Xander Bogaerts, Devers, you're gonna have to pay the moon for. You're just going to have to. There's really no avoiding it if you want to lock him up long time. Look at that contract the Braves kid just signed with for a couple of years ago, like $200 million.
Riley.
Yeah, he just signed for like $200 million. Yeah, and he's a very comparable player to Rafael Devers. So to me, that's the model right there. And
not Matt Olson. That
Don't
was
get
so
me started.
stupid.
The AAV was comparable though, but the money was insulting. But yeah, that's the direction. That's the direction. Hopefully, the young kids come up there and maybe spend some money up there. You know, with the Eric Hosmer move, I know which we're gonna get into soon. He's locked in through 2025 for free. Padres paid everything.
I think those are the moves that he's going to be looking for, is those guys that he can bring in. And I got to be honest with you, a lot of that reminds me of what Theo did at the beginning of his tenure here. When he brought in the Trot Nixons, the Kevin Millars, he brought those guys in for relatively nothing. And it is interesting, guys, because we talk about what Chaim Bloom is doing, and I know that we're kind of getting away from the trade deadline stuff, and we'll get back into those things because I want to talk about the guys that were brought in, and we'll start with Hosmer in just a moment. But we forget that the Yankees have been building through the draft for a very long time. Posada, Rivera was one of their draftees, Derek Jeter. There was a lot of guys that they brought through, Paul O'Neill. There was guys that they brought through that were great players. And then they brought guys in elsewhere, Bernie Williams. They brought in John. Remember when John Olerud played for the Yankees and won a World Series with them? Wearing his hard hat. Good Yankees teams were built through the draft. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that up here in our little corner of the universe in Boston. And now, Ray, I'm not getting soft. I'm not saying, this isn't like what I did last time to you. I am still angry. I'm upset. I think I didn't give my input on this before. I think they lost at this deadline. I think they got better in spots, but they're Band-Aids to get into the off season.
Right.
I think of course the best deal with Hosmer was Hosmer. I think again, you guys said it. I think Ray said it. He's a few years. I don't think he's beyond his prime. I think he's in his prime. But I think we're past where we should have gotten him.
Yeah.
But I think they lost at this trade deadline. I think overall they may have gotten worse, and I hope I get proven wrong. I'm with Craig. I think they should have moved on from JD. They should have moved on from Evaldi. They should have moved on from Bogarts.
Didn't even mention him. Thank you.
They should have moved on from Bogarts. Let's be honest. They could have gotten a haul for him. Maybe not as much as they would have 2 or 3 years ago, but they could have gotten enough for him to where they could have sold that trade. Now that was a conversation piece around Boston though, and Ray, I think this is going to kind of go into what you were just going to say. If they traded Bogarts, the city would have gone nuts. People may have burned things to the ground.
Yeah. Well, that's true, and I would have helped lead the charge. Bobby and I both. But the thing is, what we have said religiously, and we've been consistent in saying this: if you were going to deal him, obviously, I said you had to get the overhaul back. Right now, we seen Luis Castillo go to Seattle. We seen Thor, aka Noah Syndergaard, go up to Philadelphia from LA. And I know he's on short money, so I guess maybe that's what and who's up there in Philly, but
Dave Dombrowski, got it.
Exactly. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like those are two guys that could have helped this rotation dramatically. Like that to me, once again, you've lost Sale for the year. Once again, he's not coming back in September. I'm not even gonna entertain that nonsense. James Paxton might as well be Bill Paxton from Remember the Titans. Like he's nothing more than an actor. He just showed up. He just showed up and got his money.
Forgot we even had him.
Right, exactly. Correct. So it's just like, yeah, true. Right, exactly. For me, I can do right. So it's just like, bro, like it's wild to me that they did nothing to really help the rotation.
Yeah. And
yes, you got some positional players. Awesome, great. Listen, get rid of. My thing is, how do you get rid of Diekman, but don't get rid of Brazier? Like he is me.
I love that you just called him Brazier.
Brazier, yeah. Well, maybe, yeah.
Listen, Brazier.
He's a he's a Brazier. Yeah, trust me. I want to say something else. I want to stay on the air, but I'm just like, oh my god, like what the fuck?
Boob.
Like what?
He's a boob.
Yeah, he's a boob. Yeah, big time. Yeah, Brazier, whatever.
Baseball has moved in.
He's terrible.
Baseball has moved into this mentality, and I got to tell you, this is like. Doing what I do and working where I work with a baseball coach very closely. And it's funny because whenever I bring up stats, I don't care about those. How does he look? And that's what I love is that eye test. We're losing that eye test. Because guys that can play are being overlooked for guys who have a higher WAR, who have higher sabermetrics. And WAR might actually be one of the best statistics that you can use from the sabermetrics. This launch angle and bat speed and this stuff is crap. I don't care about your freaking launch angle. The only thing launch angle has done, and again, another tangent. The only thing launch angle has done is cause kids to do this long uppercut swing because they're trying to put everything over the fence. It's like, nah, man. Like, I watched a baseball team go 25-17 this year, and had 7 total home runs in 42 games. You don't need to hit a home run to win games. Now, that doesn't mean that the game the major league game isn't going the way of the home run. It has been for a very long time.
That's the baseball coach in us, Joe. Absolutely. That's the coach that's deep down within.
Well, this is why, Bobby, I think you and I could agree. Jackie Bradley Jr. is an outstanding baseball player.
Yeah.
He's a terrible hitter.
Awful
But he's a great baseball player. He's great defensively. He's great on the base pass. He just can't hit. He's got, he's a 2 or 3 tool guy. The 5 tool thing has gone out the window. Craig, when was the last time you heard somebody referred to as a 5 tool guy? Marcelo Mayer isn't referred to as a 5 tool guy. Bogarts was referred to as a 5 tool guy. That's
Mookie was 5 tool as well.
What's that?
I was going to say Mookie. Mookie was my go-to.
Mookie, 5 tool guy, right? We got these guys here. So what are we doing? So point being, they're going away from the eye test and they're starting to bring guys in that are all about numbers. And this is a problem. And Ray, I'm with you. How do you not go out and bring in relief talent? Bring in another starter and get rid of Ryan Brazier, Ryan Boob, Ryan Brazier, Ryan Brazier. How do you not get rid of that guy? How do you not do it? And Jake Diekman was a bright spot when he pitched for this team.
Right. And I want to say something to this is to Alex Cora, right? Because I tweeted about Alex Cora. I want to know how much he cares at this moment. And I don't care how this is received. Once again, if you want to tweet at us, once again, it's MTP_pod. Once again, you can tweet us all day. How do you justify saying that you're in this and you're in this to win and you're competitive and you want guys to be there and you consistently put number 70 in there? What is wrong with you? Like you constantly put him in the fucking game. What is wrong with you, bro?
Yeah, he's got to have some dirt.
You're not committed to winning if you constantly put him in there.
He's got a dick pic of Alex
Cora. His ERA is his number. His ERA is his number. It's 70. It's out of control.
I have a question for Rayshon Buchanan going back on his Alex Cora comments here. Who do you think's pulling the strings? Because I asked this question, and let me preface before you answer. We see it sometimes where it's the job of the chief baseball officer. This is another thing that we really have to, and I put this on Facebook today, and I should have put it on the MTP Twitter. Brian O'Halloran is the general manager of the Boston Red Sox. People keep blaming the general manager for these moves and all these things going on. Chaim Bloom is the chief baseball officer, one step above the general manager. So, simple question, Ray. Who's pulling the strings? Is it the chief baseball officer or is it the manager of the Boston Red Sox?
Unfortunately, I think it's the people up top, and that's the problem. I mean, and the reason why I'm getting Alex Cora is like, yo, you're there, but it's like, yo, at some point you got to say, you know what? Even if they are trying to pull my strings from the top, fuck that. I'm trying to win games, bro. Like Alex Cora, you got this taken away from you. Now, granted, you contributed to that, but you had this taken away from you from a year. You should be doing everything in your power to reestablish you as one of the top managers in this game. Your year one, you go 108-54. Now, obviously, between injuries and some other stuff that happened in 2019, they go 84-78. Obviously, the stuff comes out about what happened in Houston. You and AJ Hinch go away for a year. They bring you back, yes, as a PR move, but also because you have a relationship, you build rapport with the players that's in that locker room, and you get the best out of the players that are there, which is why they went 92-70 last year and were 2 games away from the World Series.
John Henry wants to do both.
Right, but you can do both, but it's like you cannot justify. I don't care if it's John Henry, Tom Warner, whoever it is, Larry Lucchini. I don't care who it is out there that's up there. You cannot justify to me, and I just said that before the break. Ryan Brazier, whatever you want to call it, his number is his ERA. It's at a 70. That's wild. That's out of control. Like there's no way. Like there's no way that can be justified to me. And once again, we're overworking Schreiber because he's the only dude in there that's fucking competent. And even he has some slip ups lately because the rest of them are rubbing off on him. Like some's got to give. Tanner Houck ain't nowhere to be found. Some's got to give. And once again, it is inexcusable to take Bobby's words. He said earlier, it's inexcusable to me that you had the deadline come and go, and you don't address your biggest need outside of first base. Okay, once again, it shouldn't. That's another thing. It should have took 100 games for you to be like, man, French
can't really play first base.
French can't really play this. It's like, yo, we went on a whole rant last year. You know, with our guy Steve Perot. What's up, man? How you doing, brother? Like, we went on a whole rant with him talking about how Frenchie played was the worst player in baseball, or one of the worst players in baseball. And you thought he was the answer because he had a game winner earlier this season, and that gave him some equity to stay on this roster. He was a key contributor. Like that to me once again it's inexcusable, and it's like this. In this case, you can't have both. And I'm glad you made that point, Joe, about the New York Yankees, because you're right. Yes, they did get those guys, and I know. Well, the only difference, Paul O'Neill came over for Cincinnati.
Oh, you beat me to it, bro.
Yeah. But the only thing, it's just like that to me. It's like they not only did they build through the draft, but they also, when they got the motherfuckers, they needed to supplement what they got in the draft. That's what you got to do here too. This is not Oakland. This is not it's not even San Francisco. I know San Francisco has won a lot, but we're not even that. You got to figure out that balance, and that's what my guy Theo did. That's what we got to get back to. Fuck Billy Bean. Fuck Chaim Bloom. You got to get back to what Theo did here, because he's the guy that built the motto. He's that type of mentality is what we need back here in Boston to like, yo, fine, yeah, we can build to the draft, fine. Let's go get the Euclides. Let's go get the Dustin Pedroias. Let's get the Clay Buchholz. Fine, that's cool. But I'm also gonna get Manny, or that was Daniel Kent. But we're also gonna get Ortiz. We're gonna get Keith Folk. Like that, you have to have a mix of both. It can't just be, well, we're gonna wait for 2025, like Craig keeps painfully saying to me, because I'm getting pissed off every time you say it, because I know Craig is not wrong. That's what gets me so mad. But it's like, damn, I'm not trying to wait until I have gray dreads for this team to win another fucking championship. I don't want that to happen. I want your beard to still stay red, Joe. I don't want your beard to go gray by the time these motherfuckers win again.
It'll stay red. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I have one gray hair that grows in all the time, and I pull it. It's got like no color to it. Anyway.
But before you go, Joe,
go ahead, man.
The biggest pain to me is exactly the lack of addressing that pen. You know what I mean? So what it kind of reminds me of is, we actually said this on our last show, is it reminds me of what the Patriots did that year that you had Cam Newton, where it's like you're kind of making moves. I know I graded them as a winner, but after hearing you guys talk, I think I'm leaning more towards the loser, because it's like it's just you're kind of making moves that give us a taste like, oh, don't worry, we're not selling, we're going for this, guys, we're going for it. But it's like, are you really realistically looking at this squad? Yes, it's better because you don't have literally an empty spot. You don't have a little leaguer playing first base.
Yeah, you now have a first baseman.
You have a first baseman
and a replacement for your center fielder who shouldn't be in the major leagues yet.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he really shouldn't. He really
or at all.
But it's just it does seem like it's fool's gold. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like they are trying to sell us. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, so John Henry's always been trying to sell us fool's gold. I've said this how long? When he sits on the park benches down at Fenway South, that jet blue park, and he sits there. He's such a pompous ass.
I didn't think there was I'm sorry. I didn't think you could get uglier than John Henry. But then I saw the guy that played him in Moneyball, and yeah, they're both not good looking dudes.
I don't know. I thought the guy in Moneyball was much better looking than the real.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, that no.
But I just want to punch him in the face.
What's that?
I just want to punch him in the face. I don't care how we look.
No actual threats here. We take no responsibility here on him.
Sure.
So
but he needs to sell the team. There we go. We can cut that part out. But he needs
but
to sell the team.
here's the problem, right? Like Dave says it all the time because Dave's favorite football team, let's not get it wrong, is Liverpool, who the Fenway Group owns. Billy Beane's in charge of that, oddly enough.
Cool.
They own the Pittsburgh Penguins now. They own Roush Fenway Racing. They own a lot of things, and for what it's worth, really good owners in a lot of ways. Like what they do, they've brought championships to Boston. They've brought championships to Liverpool. They're likely going to bring championships back to Pittsburgh. They do a good job with their racing team. They have done those things. I'm with you, Ray. Great. 4 championships in 20 years. Somebody said it as a reply to one of Craig's tweets, and I almost went off on him today. And I had to erase the message because I don't care what he's done for the last 20 years. Do something. We don't know where this team is going. We don't know the direction of this squad. Great. You brought in Eric Hosmer. Thank you. We needed a first baseman. You brought in Tommy Pham. Awesome. I hope he can play left field at Fenway Park. Jaron Duran's probably going to be optioned back to Worcester, which is fine. Great. That team needs some help too. They're like 3 games out of a playoff push.
No, get him off the organization. Get him. No.
Ray, you need those guys sometimes in your organization. The
problem, you need a guy that's going to quit on a play in center field and doesn't even run after the ball.
Yeah, that was bullshit. That was bullshit. That was like Cam Newton not diving on the fumble. I get that. But sometimes you need those dudes in your organization. The problem is
the Denvers.
when you have guys like Jaron Duran, Jeter Downs, you have these prospects that high and bloom. You fall in love with them. We've all played the video games, right? Mm-hmm. You fall in love with the guys that you bring in because you brought them in, unless they're a real pain in the ass, or they're really terrible when you have them there. Right. But he's not going to get rid of these guys. Like Jaron Duran's going to bounce around for a while. Like he's going to say, "All right, great." Like he's not ready. But him, Downs, Bayo, these guys aren't ready for the big stage yet. They're just not there. And
Downs is ready defensively though.
Well,
he's ready to. To me, he can play right now. He can play in the field, in my opinion.
Great, but we already have that hole offensively with Jackie Bradley, and I've said this forever. You can have that hole, you just can't have two.
Right? Yeah. No, I feel you.
And this team is frustrating.
Absolutely.
And this was supposed to be a deadline show, and it turned into
another bitch fest. It's cool though.
Yeah. Well, it turned into a therapy session, and I think Red Sox fans need it. Because everybody loved Christian Vasquez. We love Christian Vasquez here on this show. He did a lot for this team. And you know what? As he grew and he got older, he hit the double better. He made better contact. He put the ball in play. The strikeout numbers went down. So they were doing, I don't know if that was Chili Davis, who isn't here anymore, but whoever it was that's the hitting coach did a good job. They're doing a good job. The coaching staff, Ray, I'm with you. The coaching staff, outstanding. What a great coaching staff. You have Alex Cora and Jason Varitek in your dugout. You got 2 of the best Red Sox players. I don't want to say Alex Cora is one of the best Red Sox players of the last 15 years, but Varitek is. And Cora did what he could while he was here. You got these 2 guys on the bench, and you're gonna call it like Kevin Cash down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. He's not making those decisions. It was High and Bloom. It was the front office that made the decisions of who was going to start.
And lost in the World Series.
How many innings did they go? Exactly, lost in the World Series. It was one of the worst moves in World Series history. You think Grady Little pulling Pedro or not pulling Pedro was one of the worst moves? That's one of the worst moves in World Series history.
No, it's up there. But I mean, did you speaking of Varitek though? You didn't hear what Bloom said about him earlier?
What did you say?
So he was like, so obviously, he's trying to, make up for, his ineptitude with the deal of Vasquez. So he was just talking about what he was in the locker room and everything. He's like, oh, well, it's a good thing that we have a guy like the captain here, like Varitek. And it's like, bro, you're acting like he's on the field. He's behind the scenes. He's not coming out there to punch Aaron in the face. He's not coming out there to hit one of the 4-for-4 back-to-back home runs against New York. Like that's not that guy. He's not playing anymore. Like just because he's on the coaching staff doesn't mean he's going to ease the fears or ease the concern of the players. He could help, but he's not going to ease it all together.
I don't
think like, what are we doing?
I don't think those guys are easing the fears or the concerns of the players at all. And I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with what you're saying, and then I'm elaborating by saying, look at the way Raffy Devers and Xander Bogaerts laughed at the questions about their contracts and their values at the All-Star game. Look at the way these guys act on and off the field. I think Alex Cora is pissed. I think this isn't what he came back for. I don't think this is what he signed up for. And if I'm wrong, I hope we find out that I'm wrong. But right now, the fans, the players, the coaching staff, we're all the ones that are going, what the hell are you doing? Mm-hmm. And Bloom and Henry and O'Halloran are sitting up in their ivory tower counting their money, trying to figure out what the next best guy to bring in to maybe platoon somewhere is. And that's a problem, right? Because I think everybody's against the ownership of this team right now, players and coaches included. And I could be completely wrong. I hope I'm wrong in a way, but I hope I'm right in a lot of other ways. But you're never going to, the problem is, Ray, we're never going to see this team sold. I mean, we will, but the Roush Fenway group, the Fenway group, they go deep. I mean, we may see that just handed over to somebody else. Yeah. Billy Beane could be the next owner. LeBron James could be the next owner. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, that's.
I'd love a guy like Mark Cuban to come on this team, honestly.
But you know what though, Mark Cuban would have us right back in contention because he's not afraid to make any moves.
And that's how he's been in Dallas, and he's had bad teams in Dallas. Listen, you're gonna have bad teams in baseball and basketball, hockey, football. We've seen it. You're gonna have bad teams. It's just the way it goes. But this first to worst crap that we did for 5 years, bullshit. Yeah. It's gotta go away. This is Boston. This isn't Oakland. This isn't, and even Oakland, Billy Beane did try to do better for the city of Oakland. He did try to put a winning product on that. The way what he did and what John Henry, I almost said Derek Henry. Well, that show will be coming up in a few weeks when we preview the NFL season. But what John Henry's trying to do, man, what he's chasing, he's never gonna get the 2002 Billy Beane. He's never gonna get it, and he's chasing this wet dream, and it's frustrating as a fan. I've been tired of the bullshit for a long time, and you know what? I love the Eric Hosmer deal. Love it. I like the Tommy Pham deal. I like the Reese McGuire deal. Great. What does it mean? It means exactly what Craig said. To me, it means you're going to get some compensatory picks. It means you're going to flame out and either miss the playoffs or squeak in and then either get bounced in the wild card or the divisional series. And then we're going to be talking all winter about this crap. And we're going to have to hear John Henry feed us some bull crap again. And Chaim Bloom, whose speech patterns are that of John Henry, I can't stand it. I can't stand it, man. I'm over it. And I'm not out on the Red Sox. I've been more in on the Red Sox lately. I've been more on with baseball lately. Baseball has flipped. They've done something. They're becoming relevant mid-season. I don't know how they're doing.
Teams that haven't been competing are like the Mets are on fire right now. Obviously, we see what the Yankees have done. Like, baseball is different when the bigger markets are on fire, and that's what's going on right now. So, it looks very much right now like it might be a Subway Series 22 years later, but that's yet to be seen. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Houston's been consistent, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking for, right? Listen, you're not going to win every year. That's not what we're not asking to win a championship. That is unrealistic. Yes, that's what we want. That's what we strive for. That's what we hope for as fans. But that's unrealistic. Just be in the hunt at least. And if you happen to strike gold every few years, like the perfect run to me, but over the last 15 or 20 years was really what we've done here in Boston, and then what the Giants have done. Their run from 2010 to about 2016, 2017 was amazing. 3 championships, basically winning every other year. They did great. I don't want to be the 2010 Texas Rangers who have 2 or 3 good back-to-back years, and then next thing you know, it's like, well, what happened? So this is not the late 90s anymore. Mike Stanley's not walking through that door. Jeff Fry's not walking through that door.
You took the name out of my head.
John Vouch is not walking through that door, man. So it's like
Darren Lewis.
Darren Lewis,
Darren
Bragg. Yeah, so it's just like, what do we? Come on, guys,
90s
like
Red Sox. Bro.
Yeah, so it's like that. It was brutal.
John Valentin.
It's just like John Valentin's just like and and then that manager Kevin Kennedy, like it's not coming through the door. Like this is not that time. So you have to find a way to continue to produce. Once again, yes, it's great that we won the 04. Listen, once again, you gave us content off the 04 championship. So for that, we're forever grateful. But once again, and I'll keep saying this, I'll say this reference every show until they get better. I'm the biggest Janet Jackson fan you can find. What have you done for me lately? That's where I'm at. What have you done? And you haven't done much for me lately. So I'm as someone who's a partner in this relationship, I'm not feeling the love. I'm not feeling the love. And something's got to give. And once again, Craig D'Alessandro, who is a baseball savant on this fucking show, should not be right about the moves he's talking about. Go get somebody. Go get somebody here that can fucking dominate. Craig should not be right about that. He should be right about some other shit, but he don't need to be right about this. Do not prove this man right in this regard. I'm sorry. I don't want to see certain guys come here and it's like, and you're 2037 world champions. You're Boston Red Sox. No. I can't do it.
Mike
what I really think
will be
fueled
19.
What I really think fueled a lot of this too, though, is that run we did make last year. I don't think ownership, I don't think the general manager, I don't think anyone was prepared for us to be as good as we were. So they thought it was going to be a lot easier for them to sell off these pieces and for these things to happen. But guess what, guys? Fucking Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez are really fucking good.
Good.
So they want to be good. Do you think
I don't
they
think that. I honestly do think that was a backfire in their plan. I think they expected us to be a little closer than we were the year before, and I think it just kind of threw everything for a loop. And that's why you see the moves that we're seeing. That's why it seems like we're kind of half in the fucking rebuild train, half outside the rebuild train, because they know that with the talent they have, with the team they have, our fan base is not going to accept a full rebuild. It's not going to fucking happen. You can't have
5 or 6 all-stars on your team.
Right. You literally can't do it. So it's just, I just feel like if that last year didn't happen, that run didn't happen, we would have seen this team gutted at this deadline. But because of that, it just seems like they were like, oh shit. Now we have to, we can make a couple of those moves, but we have to keep our team competitive, a little competitive, just to save face, because if not, that we're going to lose fucking everything. And that just seems like where they're at
this year anyway, because they're going to see JD and they're going to see Xander walk and get nothing for him. Now, granted, they'll get some draft picks, but like we've talked about, these guys aren't coming through.
They'll be able to be like, well, we tried to give it one last run with these guys, and we tried to do this, but they just couldn't get it. So it's time to turn it over to the new reign and blah blah blah. That's right, but I'm telling that's what the narrative is going to be, though. That's what we're going to hear. Is like, I can already hear it. We tried, and you've heard it with the Red Sox before. They did it with the 2011 team, where they just gutted that entire piece of shit.
You know what I mean? That was warranted, though. That was justified.
Agreed. But it just. And then the whole Bobby Valentine, that was so fun.
Like, that was justified.
But at least then we knew what the narrative. We knew that whole thing was just a dumpster fire. Now it's like they just don't know if it's a dumpster fire or if it's a fucking palace in front of them. They don't know, and because of that, I feel like that's why we see the moves that we're seeing. That's right.
My last thing before, I know we're getting against time. My thing is, how do you see a season when you go 108 and 54 and say, yo, I don't want that anymore.
I don't think we should resign these guys. Yeah, agree.
But I'm saying, you go 108 and 54, dominate from start to finish. Remember, you had Joe Buck on the call. The best team all year does it again. Like that. How do you go from that and seeing pure domination when the people would have kept? Granted, the fan base is still coming regardless, but they would have more merch would have been up, sales would have been, all that would have been up. But I will say, because I was just there Friday night when the Brewers came in, fans are starting to give them a message to an extent, because the Brewers fans in there was a lot in there. My section was heavy. You would have thought Robert Yount was coming through, and it was 1982 all over again. Like they were heavy in there, and I love the jerseys. I know I love the Brewers. I want a jersey on the low. I love the jerseys.
That dark blue.
Oh yeah,
it's phenomenal. Even
Milwaukee's got the best jerseys. It's too bad they don't get more.
Right, that's another thing too. And it's I'm so glad I just remembered it. Sorry, I know I'm going all over the place, but so I see someone wearing a Josh Hader jersey. And I'm like, we remember the run that he had in 2018 or 2019. Like he was phenomenal in the National League playoffs. And I was like, man, I said, man, y'all should trade him to us if he's available. And they was like, and one of the fans was like, I don't know if they're going to trade him, or whatever. Like, but you never know. And bam, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, he gets dealt. And I said, what? I'm like, so he was available. You didn't look to say, you know what, let's have a conversation around Hader to see what we can do to get him here. Like, cause he would have been your closer, and it would have been all set. But of course not. That's too much to ask for. But hey, at least we got Eric Hosmer, right? Once again, this shit better be a Derek White type deal. This better be something where they take off and turn into a great defense and then start getting some timely hitting, because if not, like, it's another wasted season. And you wasted Bogarts the year, you wasted Devers the year, you wasted JDJ, even though they're not contributing much, but they need to get better. It's a problem, and they need to fix it. Not next week, not next month, but today, right now.
So the marquee names that the Boston Red Sox brought in for the trade deadline, in no particular order, but in this order: Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, and Reese McGuire. First baseman, an outfielder, and a catcher. Needs. And that's what they're going to try and sell to us. To finish off what Ray was saying, a few years ago, the Red Sox were selling out Fenway Park and bringing in close to 36,000 people, if not 37,000 people into Fenway Park, the smallest park in Major League Baseball. And I have heard multiple sub 30,000 attendance figures all season long. Sub 30,000, unless the big teams come in, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Giants. When you see those teams come in, those attendance numbers go up. There's a problem in Boston. I think they know about it. They got to fix it. Real BK, Bob Kelly, Rayshon Buchanan, Craig D'Alessandro. I'm Joe Malkin. Thank you for joining us on the MTP on the 617, powered by Crowworthy. We'll talk to you next time.